right, guys, welcome back to another video. So the PlayStation 5 Pro is out today. People are getting their pre-orders. They're going to be arriving, and you're going to see it out in the wild, and a lot more people are going to have their experience and reviews and everything of what they think about the PlayStation 5 Pro. But the embargo was lifted, I believe, yesterday, where all of the PS5 Pro reviews were coming out, and the reviews are pretty, I would say, on par as to what I thought it was going to be. It's a good console that doesn't blow really anybody away, and it's a hard recommendation to upgrade if you are on the base PlayStation 5. It is really for enthusiasts who want to see the smallest incremental upgrade and spend that extra cash to get the best console experience, whatever that means to you. So that is the PlayStation 5 Pro, and as I said, we will see more information on it, but I want to talk about the console a bit more because it is still a topic of discussion and a topic of debate as to whether it is worth the $700 that you're going to be shelling out for. And obviously that's before tax. There'll be more on that after tax, and then if you want the disk drive and everything, that is going to be added onto it. If you want the stand, that is added onto it. And it is absolutely being nickel and dimed here. PlayStation is nickel and diming the customers in order to make as much money off of this console. And I think this definitely pushes towards their entire strategy this generation, which was they took way too long to pivot. And here we are with them putting out a $700 Pro console, which is a major jump from the last gen, which I believe launched the PS5 Pro at $400. So that's a $300 jump, with a difference in the power between the base console and the Pro console being less than between the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro. Now, there have been many claims about the PS5 Pro right off of the start, and you see this, and sometimes I sit back at least and then think, do these people really believe this stuff, or are they just doing it for shock value and to get engagement? Because it does work. Yeah, people out here saying it was the PS5 Pro was like a 4090, the top tier gaming PC GPU. Just absurd, a stupid take, of course. Then you had people out here saying that it was like a 4070, which I was pretty skeptical of. I mean, you take a look at the 4070, what it can do, the price point of it, and to believe that PlayStation was going to be able to release a $700 console, which is expensive still, but to have the power of the 4070, and then just throw a bigger GPU in there without any extra stuff, without any taking away any other bottlenecks like the CPU. It just did not make any sense to think that I was going to perform up to a 4070 PC rig. And now we're getting more information, and it looks like the common sense prevailed again. I feel like that generally is the case when it comes to all these gaming discussions. Common sense does generally prevail and generally win when it comes to these gaming debates, the console wars, all of that type of stuff. And it looks like it is not a 4070. It's definitely not a 4090. And it is what I said in my previous video. It is just a incremental upgrade for those who want to shell out the cash, but most people don't need it. Most people won't even really notice a lot of the differences. And it, in my opinion, is the main thing of the PlayStation 5 Pro is proof of concept, basically a beta, to say the least, for PSSR. I think PlayStation wanted to build this Pro console this generation with PSSR in there to get it into the hands of developers and get them utilizing this AI upscaling technology. So when the PlayStation 6 drops, they already have that experience, and they're going to be able to be off the starting line running and utilize it within games that launch on the PlayStation 6. That's the way I see it. That's just my opinion on that, but that's kind of what it is looking like, because the key feature of the PlayStation 5 Pro isn't the GPU. Obviously, it's not the CPU, not the memory or anything. It is the PSSR. And we have some more information, breakdowns of reviews that we are going to go over here. So we have this article that was posted here by PCguide.com. And the title here says, new PS5 Pro benchmarks show it falling behind the RX 6800, a 4-year-old GPU that is half the price. And I'm not the biggest tech person in the world in terms of understanding everything when it comes to the different powers in the GPUs, but there's plenty of resources out there for you to see it and teach yourself and to learn about this type of stuff. And one of those great resources is User Benchmark at GPUuserbenchmark.com. And you can see here the RX 6800 released in Q4 of 2020. And you compare it to, I would say, the one that you could maybe make some arguments about, which was the 4070. I mean, we saw the warriors for the PS5 Pro just going super hard on that. Like, it was the end all be all, and they were absolutely correct. But You compare that to the 4070, the RTX 4070, which released in Q2 of 2023, and it is a far weaker GPU. Like the 4070 is 33% more, 33% more powerful than the RX 6800, and all the average scores like blows away the RX 6800 as a PC GPU. And yes, I know the whole thing here is you shouldn't just be comparing the consoles to a singular GPU, because there are so many other things that make a PC run, and there's bottlenecks and everything. But the PlayStation 5 Pro hasn't addressed any of the bottlenecks for games like that are CPU heavy. It's just a slightly more powerful GPU within the console itself. But they're saying here that it's falling behind the RX 6800, a 4-year-old GPU. And this comes via an analysis here from Digital Foundry. And I'm going to go over pretty much everything they did talk about. It's a very long review. It's an hour long, but Kami Gaming here did a nice written summary. I did watch it myself. I would recommend going to watch it if you want all the details, but there is some good stuff in there, and there's just some, I guess, underwhelming stuff in the overall review. But it says, in a video recently posted by Digital Foundry, they decided to see if the PS5 Pro Game Boost feature can offer 60 FPS at fixed 4K and fixed quality settings. And again, common sense right off the bat would have said that wasn't going to be the case. They say the improvements over the original PS5 are evident. The Pro pushes closer to the 60 FPS mark, yet it rarely maintains it consistently. It's worth noting that Elden Ring isn't yet part of the Sony's enhanced game list. So here you see Elden Ring running on the PS5, 39 frames per second, PS5 Pro 50 frames per second, RX 6800 running at a smooth 60 frames per second. They say compared to the RX 6800 on the PC version of the game, which settings that closely reflect the console version at 4K, the 6800 offers much smoother experience overall, rarely dropping below 60 FPS and offering noticeably more stable frame time. And we'd recommend the RX 6800 for 1440p predominantly, but it has shown decent levels for the entry level at 4K performance. And the question here is gaming PC or PS5 Pro? My opinion right off the bat, without even reading this, is that save your money. Get a gaming PC if you want to spend that type of cash on your gaming experience. Just save a bit more money and literally just wait until the next generation, how many ever years that is away. And I think it is sooner rather than later. And then just build a PC that is more future proof rather than picking up a PS5 Pro and then having to upgrade again in another couple of years from now. But the question here is, in the age-old question of gaming PC versus PS5 Pro, a lot comes down to personal preference. And in the use case, gaming PCs offer plenty more versatility, but consoles are convenient and require very little effort to set up. And all that is true, but one of the things about the consoles that is the most important, in my opinion, is the price. Like, that is one of the main reasons why people go out there and pick up a console. It's because they can get into AAA gaming, they can get into the latest releases at a much lower cost of entry for the hardware. With PC, you're spending way more money, easily over $1,000 if you want a really good experience. And consoles have been that place in the market where you can go spend $300, $400, $500 and get in there and play the latest games that run and look great. And you're not going to not enjoy your experience. Even this generation, we've looked at the Series X and the PS5 in general have done very good. I know people have to complain about all the little nitpicks and everything about frame drops and sometimes games in 30 FPS, which have been, I believe, few and far between. Most games have had a performance mode, but for the price you're paying for the consoles that we got this generation, at least at the beginning of it, I hope by now there would have been some price cuts. I think they've performed very well and much better than they do get credit for. You see people out there with their doom and gloom takes that this has been the worst console generation, which I absolutely just don't agree with. But yeah, that is one of the main things for the console is the price. And as of right now, the PS5 Pro at $700 is breaking that threshold of it being an easy entry point in terms of how much you're paying, but you're not even getting a massive boost over the PlayStation 5. So here is the summary of the Digital Foundry video. Again, an hour and 9 minutes long or so. Go watch it if you are into this type of stuff. I enjoyed watching what they did. But here are the general impressions from Digital Foundry. There's roughly a 30 to 35% performance uplift on average with the game boost depending on the game. There are some early image quality issues to work out with PSSR in certain games like Alan Wake 2 and Dragon's Dogma 2. And again, I think this console is a beta test essentially for PSSR. It's a proof of concept so the developers get their hands on it. So when the games do launch in the next gen, or even after the PS5 Pro has been out for a bit, that utilize PSSR, there won't be these image quality issues. They'll be able to utilize everything that is available to them in this AI upscaling technology, and just absolutely give us really good experiences with taking the load off of the actual hardware itself. Now, again, as we said, they haven't addressed some of the bottlenecks for big CPU heavy games, because it's the same CPU in the PS5 Pro. It says here that CPU heavy games like BG3, Baldur's Gate 3 still have performance issues with only minor gains despite being Pro enhanced. So if it's a CPU bound game, it doesn't really matter. It's not really going to do much. They say some unpatched games show little improvement because the DRS is favoring higher resolutions over frame rates. Final Fantasy 16, for example, noise levels are about the same. Power draw is only about 10 to 20 watts higher. The PS4 image quality enhancement. This is another funny talking point, because if you remember at the beginning of this generation, one of my favorite features still on the Xbox is the enhancement of older games. But there was a whole console war discussion about why would you buy a console for older games. One of the best features I think about the PS5 Pro is going to be the enhancement to the PlayStation 4 games and to older games. And you're seeing a lot of people acting extremely excited about that now all of a sudden, because it's on the PlayStation 5 Pro, and Xbox has been doing this for a while. And I think they've done a very, very good job. But in terms of the PS5 Pro, it says the PS4 image quality enhancement seems to be using a basic upscaler more than just a sharpening filter to try and make the PS4 games look better at 4K. Works best on 2D and pixel art games. Mixed results, but worth trying. So right now, they're not doing it very good, you could say, because if it's only working best on the 2D and the pixel art games. Now, they did a bunch of stuff here with specific games, and this is going to vary, of course, as more games do come out for the PS5 Pro, more patches get added to it. But overall, there is definitely a nice little enhancement here for people who want to see that incremental change from the base PS5 to the PS5 Pro. Elden Ring was 30 to 35% performance boost on average with the game boost only, but better performance, but still not locked at 60 frames per second. Seems to be prioritizing 4K over higher frame rate. And that was Mark Cerny's entire presentation, basically, was that they had statistics that people wanted FPS, performance mode, over image quality. And the PS5 Pro was going to give you 60 FPS at the same image quality as the image quality modes, as the 30 FPS or the lower frame rate modes on the base PlayStation 5. Now, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth has a nice boost here. And again, this is because of PSSR, which is going to be the most important thing of the PS5 Pro and one of the most important features going forward in console gaming. This type of technology, PSSR, whatever Xbox is going to utilize for their next console, maybe Nintendo will develop something like that, is going to be the most important thing here. It says big boost to image quality with PSSR, better LOD and motion blur, dynamic 4K PSSR at 60 frames per second, 1152p internal resolution. So that sounds great because of that PSSR. Silent Hill 2, stutters mostly eliminated with game boost, now runs smoother in both modes. Pro enhanced patch coming soon, which should improve things even more. Metaphor ReFantasio now runs at a near locked 60 frames per second. I'm not sure where that was previously, but that's all it's doing, is improving the frame rate. Alan Wake 2. This has been an interesting discussion as well. Fidelity mode now includes RT reflections with a 30 FPS cap. So you're still not getting 60 FPS at that fidelity mode, which was basically what they were trying to sell this thing for. They say performance mode has better foliage, AF LOD lighting, and shadows at 60 frames per second, and some image quality issues to work out with PSSR. Stellar Blade, big boost to image quality with PSSR, one of the best implementations. Dragon's Dogma 2, 4K PSSR at 50 to 60 frames per second. Again, you see PSSR at work there, which is doing good stuff. Some issues with ray tracing and PSSR. Gran Turismo 7 4K PSSR with locked 60 FPS, optional 120 FPS mode with lower internal resolution, added R2 reflections during gameplay. That's a nice addition. Driving games are always a showcase for new consoles, and they, I would say, are easier ones to get all of the juicy features into it because you don't have the big open worlds and all these things loading in. So that is nice here to see Gran Turismo 7 having some good performance. Horizon Forbidden West, I think this is probably the best one of them all. This one or Spider-Man 2. And this makes complete sense. First party games are going to have a better at the beginning of this PlayStation 5 Pro output because of the fact that they've known about this far longer than the other developers, and they've probably been working with the PS5 Pro and be able to utilize the features in it and prepare for this better than third-party developers. But Horizon Forbidden West 4K 60 with better foliage, shadows, DOF, and volumetrics. No PSSR, but uses a proprietary upscaler to produce one of the best-looking console games. So that one does look very good. I would go check that one out. The Last of Us Part 1 4K PSR upscale from 1440p, locked 60 frames per second with better foliage. Okay, nothing big there. And then the same with The Last of Us Part 2. And then you got Spider-Man 2, better ray tracing, dynamic 4K PSSR in all modes, better LODs and fur and particles and things. Ratchet and Clank added RT in both performance and fidelity, and better fur and crowd density in LOD. And this is one that they showed off when they announced the PS5 Pro. But the reality is, it's like, nobody is going to be looking into the crowd behind the character and seeing better image quality and even noticing it when they're playing these games on a big screen TV. No one is looking at that stuff, but it's nice to see that they are adding some additional look to the game that makes it better overall. Demon Souls new PS5 Pro mode adds dynamic 4K PSSR at 60 FPS, and Black Myth Wukong roughly 10 to 15 FPS improvement with game boost only. So my conclusion after reading all of this and going through the games and watching the Digital Foundry video is this is not worth the $700. I just don't think it is. I think if you're somebody who has a base PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, you're going to be completely fine with those consoles until the end of this generation. If you're a tech enthusiast and you want the latest and greatest, and you really are zooming in on the games and making sure that every little piece of image quality is better, and you want slightly better frames per second and everything, yeah, I guess it could be for you if that is something that you truly care about. But just for the gaming and just for PlayStation 5 gamers, there really isn't there. So I wonder how many units they will actually sell, if people will care enough to spend the $700 on this thing and then go get the disc drive and everything. And if it doesn't do well, to me, the question is, does this change the next generation for PlayStation 6? Are they going to rethink what they're going to be doing with a mid-gen refresh? We know Xbox didn't do it, and I think Xbox made the right call here, not putting out a mid-gen refresh for a slight upgrade to the games. The Series X, weirdly enough, still has some more juice in it that hasn't been pulled out of it yet. It's not going to be as good as the PlayStation 5 Pro, but I don't think it needs a mid-gen refresh, and I'm happy they didn't do it. I'm happy that they're going to be waiting until the next gen to release a more powerful device, and hopefully a handheld as well. So this mid-gen refresh, this could be the last gen of it if the PlayStation 5 Pro doesn't sell enough, and if PlayStation starts to change up their strategy, which we've seen them already do with things like putting way more games onto PC and going more multi-platform. So interesting stuff here. It's not surprising what we see here from the PlayStation 5 Pro, but if you have one, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. What do you think about it? Is improving your gaming experience, all of that type of stuff. But I'll end the video there. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.